Self-Management Definition, Behaviors, and Examples by Peggy King Sears, a professor in the Division of Special Education and Disability Research at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. Self-management definition: the use of self-monitoring, self-assessment, or self-reinforcement for the purpose of improving behaviors that the student knows how to do but does not perform independently. Examples of self-management: students give themselves a token for each time they initiate an appropriate social interaction with a peer. This is known as self-monitoring, usually answered with a yes or no response. Students compare their work sample to a model and give themselves a score about how closely their work matches the model. This is known as self-evaluation, and one way to self-evaluate may be to give yourself a 1, 2, or 3 rating. Students complete a predetermined number of math problems correctly, then reward themselves by taking a water break. This is known as self-reinforcement, and what's discussed with students are what is needed for them to earn their self-reinforcement. Self-management is an excellent match for elementary and secondary students who are dependent on others to remind them what to do or how to behave after students have acquired those skill sets. Uneven or variable performance of desired behaviors are particularly indicative that students need to learn self-management. Students seeking independence for performing behaviors after learning them are good candidates for learning self-management. What behaviors for self-management? According to these researchers, academic productivity, accuracy, work completion, initiating job tasks, social interactions, writing, reading, initiating conversations, game playing, worksheet completion, asking for help, following directions, homework completion, and/or accuracy, and spelling words are all examples of behaviors that have been improved using self-management. Examples of selected behaviors include perhaps a single behavior, such as calling out in class without permission, or a single set of behaviors, such as calling out in class without permission, independently contributing to class discussion, or watching person speaking, or a category of behaviors, such as appropriate participation. The self-question for self-monitoring is, did I? And for self-monitoring, there's a yes-no response. Your students are typically noting the occurrence of the behavior as it occurs or when hearing a tone, such as a beep. This increases students' awareness of behavior, and there's a reactivity effect or a ripple effect in that students may need to focus on one or a few behaviors in order to see the desired impact on other behaviors. Here's an example of a self-monitoring form. Notice that students are asking themselves 2 questions. Was I paying attention to my assigned work? Yes, no. Was I following the classroom rules? Yes, no. And you can see that there are several times across the class session that the student answered these questions. The self-question for self-evaluation is, how well did I? For self-evaluation, it might be on a scale of 1 to 3 for younger students or 1 to 5 for older students, using smiley faces, comparing samples of work already rated, and with words that mean something to students, such as excellent, very good, good, average, or poor. With self-evaluation, students focus on the quality of their behavior. The self-question for self-reinforcement is, have I done enough good work that I've earned a reinforcer? For self-reinforcement, it's when you've done enough good work, or after you've worked for a predetermined number of minutes, or when you reach your daily goal, Or, as you see at the bottom of the screen, self-reinforce for problem completion. After problem 9, a break, and after problem 19, a break. You can teach students how to use self-management using the 10-step sequence. In the 10-step instructional sequence, there are 3 categories: introducing the target behavior, introducing the self-management system, then providing practice and assessing mastery so that the students are using the self-management system well in the targeted environment or the actual situation. For more information on teaching students how to use the self-management using the 10-step sequence, access one or more of these resources.